Yo, my name is Wood. Gonna jump right into some bite down boxing. Last night, checking out the Showtime. What was that? Was that championship boxing? Yeah, with Mark Magsayo against Ray Vargas. Vargas last night, but Vargas won a split decision. I agree with that pretty much, and thought that was a pretty good fight. I wanted to see the youngster hold on to his title, but you could see Vargas was a little too seasoned for him. Even though that was Vargas has been on a long layoff, coming up from super bantamweight up to featherweight, but Magsayo was just more direct. More trying to use his power, get the stoppage and whatnot, and kind of didn't put enough to go with that. He dropped Vargas late, but he didn't get the victory. So we'll see what happens there. Quickly before I get to the main thing I wanted to talk about, Brandon Figueroa stops what was his name? Carlos Castro, I think, in the fourth round, fifth round. I thought it was a pretty good fight. I mean, the Heartbreak Kid doing what he does, pressure, swarming, busy hands. Uh, Interestingly, though, they had Castro winning the fight. Steve Farhood did. At least one of the judges had Castro ahead on the cards. And when Figueroa couldn't get it the way he wanted it, Castro was doing all right. But he did knock him down the round before the fight was stopped. My only thought on that fight really was I kind of no that wasn't the same instance. That one wasn't the problem. Getting to Frank Martin and Jackson Marinez, Martin moves to 16-0 with another knockout. It went to the 10th round. Maybe it was a little more competitive than what some of us would have thought or expected. But Marinez is a late replacement. Marinez can box. He's a guy who didn't want to lose. I think that was his third loss in a row. He didn't want to completely fall down the entire mountain and kind of had to start over. So, he gave a spirited effort, and he can actually box. He boxes pretty well. Had a little bit of length on Frank Martin. I have to go back and watch the entire fight. I think I caught it from late in the fourth round on. But my thoughts of what I saw, like I mentioned it a while back, Martin is one of my favorite fighters in the lightweight division, a guy that I'm keeping an eye on, and I like his skill set. I appreciate his story. He's a Midwest representative. I like that he bet on himself and kind of disappointed some folks in the Midwest to go down and work with Derek James, the renowned trainer of unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr., undisputed super welterweight champion Jermell Charlo. I thought it was one other person. Skipping my blank mind at the moment. But then there's Frank Martin that's in the mix. I guess Errol Spence Jr. is promoting Frank Martin. I think that's dope. Spence saw something in him when he brought him, when he signed him, and really believes in him. So, I don't really downgrade Martin in any kind of way because he went to the 10th round. Marinez won some rounds. Where I came in, it felt like Martin got away from how he usually builds. The fights that I've seen from Frank Martin, he's kind of a technician and kind of goes through the gears and gets into his everything that he wants to do offensively. And from what I was able to see, it just seemed like he skipped some of his normal steps, and just got out of sorts a little bit. But I tip my cap to the man for figuring it out. Excellent coaching and tutelage from Derek James in fight and pushing his man to get the result that they wanted. He is kind of a dark horse guy in the division. it's going to be extremely difficult for him to get the, a shot at the title. And what can the PBC put together for him in that division? They don't have a lot of great names, at lightweight. So he's got to do something. Derek James mentioned late next year is when he would hope that he could get a shot at the title. But again, with one guy holding all the belts, Devin Haney, being over on ESPN and Top Rank, it's really realistically what can we really expect for Frank Martin to do until there's some kind of movement with the belts. But that's down the road. Like I said, I like how he pulled it together last night. It was a physical fight, and I'm a fan of physical boxing. I'm a fan of heavy punching, creativity to try to get the stoppage. I like guys who try to beat their opponent up, and I saw all of that type of aggression out of him. And then to get to the end, drops him at the end of the 9th round. Finally put some things together, and started stepping on the gas a little bit, and taking Marinez, who was having some success, take him out of his comfort zone. We get into the 10th and final round. I just like how we just stepped to him and just looked to beat him up and hurt him. And he drops him again. And that's what I didn't like about the fight. I didn't like that the referee just made the decision to call the fight. And I'll give it to him. He is the referee. He's the third man in the ring, and maybe he was seeing exactly the types of the level of punishment that Jackson was taking firsthand, and maybe that was part of his decision. He did go over at the end of the 9th round, and he checked on Marinez in the corner, so he did show some concern earlier. But when the knockout came in the 10th round, to not do a count, to do the 8 count, and let the guy see if he could get himself together, I just didn't like that. It's almost like, I don't know. I don't want to throw any kind of conspiracy out there. None of that type of stuff. It's not controversial. But just because it's not a championship fight, you don't take away the man's ability to continue on and to try to salvage. Like, the dude is fighting for his career at that point in time. And I know the referee doesn't have all of this stuff going through his mind at that exact moment. But he took some big right hooks, some big left hooks. He took some good shots before he went down, but I don't know, just do your job and do the count. And if the man can't beat the count, then wave the fight off, or you get him up to his feet. And if he, you evaluate him, you make him take the steps left, right, put his gloves up, ask him, does he want to continue? How you just skip all of that? And then in contrast, in the fight for Castro against Figueroa, that referee, I can't remember his name, but he gave my man he let my man get up from the knockdown, and the fight should have been over with. The dude didn't try to get off his ass until he hit 9, which was a horrible way to gamble with, I'm gonna be down here and get as much rest as possible. But the dude doesn't even get his ass off the canvas until 9, and the referee just quit counting and then lets the fight continue. And then in the next round before the knockdown, he observed several seconds before he stepped in to stop that fight. So it was just a little bit of inconsistency in the two fights with the refereeing, but it happens. But I just didn't like the fact, even I'm rooting for Frank Martin and want him to get the stoppage, but I didn't think he needed that type of help from the referee to get the win by stoppage. But yeah, like I said, man, not a clean performance, not a dominant performance over Jackson Marinez. But it's not in boxing. It's not, and like all sports, it's not always gonna be pretty. Sometimes you gotta grind a little bit. Sometimes you gotta fight through some adversity. I didn't think he would ever lost control of the fight. I was getting ready to talk about that, maybe. I'm not a Rolly fan, so I wouldn't need to see that fight. But where I was going was, Frank Martin is one. And what's up, Tony, man? Good to hear from you. Looking ahead for what's next, I'm big on Frank Martin, and I don't want to say I'm not big on a Tank Davis. I just don't know what the plan is for Davis. I don't know when he's going to be put into the types of fights that a lot of us have been waiting on, the truly career-defining fights that we would like to see. I don't know when that happens, so I don't have any expectation for that fight to be made. Then Devin Haney, I already spoke on that. Rolly was Rolly having the Tank Davis fight, being up on the cards and doing well in the eyes of some. That's probably an attractive opponent for Frank Martin. It's a fight that they could sell. But Frank is way too skilled for Rolly, in my opinion. But it's a mutual opponent, against one of the big names in the division. So that could very easily you 2 steps ahead of me, bro. I didn't even really put Romero out there, but with Romero taking that assignment to face Gervonta, and like I said, having some success, although I think he was being set up the whole 5 or 6 rounds personally. But Rolly is a puncher. I mean, when he can land a good shot, he throws bombs. He looks to bang and mixes it up and whatnot. He's aggressive. He's physical. So that's not a bad fight. But yeah, like I said, decent win for the kid. It's not always gonna be, a triple double. You're not always gonna throw for 350 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Sometimes it's gonna be some wins. You just got to get through it. But again, I do give him some kudos for finishing in dramatic fashion and for changing things up enough to get the stoppage and to it's an easy way to make people erase everything that you saw, whatever issue someone may have or somebody that wants to downgrade Frank. It's easy to erase all the stuff before, and the last thing that a lot of people will see is that you stopped the guy. So I think it's a good win for him, and I like what I'm seeing out of Derrick James as far as his communication in fight. I like how when he was talking to Brian Custer, he mentioned that he's training. He's doing his own training for Frank Martin's future big. Oh no, he said he was doing the training for Spence and Crawford. Not like he's getting in the ring that night, but maybe that's the way that he connects to his fighters. That I want to put in the same type of sacrifice, like vicariously living through his fighters. However it works. But I like the results that I'm seeing from Derrick James. And I like, sometimes you gotta I like how he holds his fighters accountable, and he's talking to them not to give up on themselves. And to go out here and perform the way that you need to perform to get whatever you're trying to get out of this game. If you're trying to get a bag, if you're trying to get legacy, championships, if you just want to prove that you're the toughest MF on the planet, whatever you're trying to do, Derrick James really seems to be attuned to his fighter and getting out of them what he needs to get out of them. So I'm not going to keep rambling on. Like I said, man, I enjoyed the fight. And with me being I'm a dude out here doing some road work. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was a good night of action. I want to see what Max Zio, how he bounces back. And then Figueroa is Figueroa. Anyway, let me get on off here. Bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Tony, if you still on there, man, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm out. Peace.